a software issue, it's going to go to the initial level of support here in T1. And I'll just jot in here support. And that's our service desk staff. Now let's say the next question is, was that staff member, was that personnel able to resolve it? If the answer is yes, then we'll basically say we're going to go to the next step, which is resolution recovery, REC, recovery, and then of course we'll go ahead and close the incident and document. Now what if we were not able to resolve the issue here at Tier 1? That's where escalation comes in. And escalation means we're going to go to Tier 2 or to second line support. And as I'll explain in a second here, this escalation could be a horizontal escalation or a vertical escalation. So once we go to this Tier 2, it's the Tier 2 personnel that are involved in investigating, okay, and diagnosing the problem or the incident. Now, if this is resolved, okay, we'll just put RES. If this is resolved, then we go back over here to that resolution and recovery process and closure. If it's not, okay, we'll just put no, and this should be no here. Okay, if it's not resolved, then we're going to go to our third line support. What we have here at Tier 3 is more investigation and diagnosis. Now, depending upon your organization, Tier 3 or the third line may be system architects, system developers, software developers, programmers, those types of things. Remember, our second tier or our second line individuals, this is network management, server management, central processing, or a higher level of expertise of service desk personnel. Again, this is a framework, not a hard and fast rule. So again, if the problem gets resolved here, and I'm going into red ink because this is a more serious issue, obviously. If it's resolved, we go back to resolution and recovery and closure. But if not, then we're going to move to what we would say would be the N tier, nth line support. Okay, and this means vendors, okay, who actually manufactured the product that we're using or the actual software, or bring in some consultants, third-party consultants, systems consultants, engineers, security personnel, whatever. That's the nth tier, the nth line support. And don't forget, we're working here with other IT services all along the way. And we're going to talk about these. We'll be dealing with problem management. We'll be dealing with change management, which may be separate IT services with separate managers and separate teams. Maybe you've got availability management that deals with failover solutions, backups and restores and redundancy, RAID hardware and software systems. Maybe you've got a capacity management, okay? Capacity management. Maybe you've got a service level agreement management. Again, it all depends upon the size of your organization and the way it's structured. Well, as you can well deduce, incident escalation is the process of passing the issue on to an individual or a system with either a higher expertise or a higher authority level. Remember, this may not be simply, taking a technical issue that a personnel cannot handle and giving it on to somebody with more expertise. It may also be an area that is beyond the scope of their security or their role. So someone with a higher authority has to handle the problem. Also, an incident may not be able to be resolved by the first line support within the service level agreement time frame. Therefore, it has to get passed on or escalated. Now, there's two types of escalation. There's functional or horizontal escalation, and then there's hierarchical or vertical escalation. Functional escalation is the horizontal process of bringing in coworkers, okay? Bringing in personnel, in-sourced, in-house personnel with special skill sets or additional access privileges or just simply more time to deal with the incident. This may go beyond the boundaries of the service desk into other departments or into other business units. So it's a horizontal escalation. The hierarchical, the one that seems the one that we've been looking at so far, more likely is the vertical escalation. This is when it involves going to upper level tiers or upper level authorities. So we might think of going from tier 1 to tier 2 as a functional or horizontal escalation, but then once you move into the development of the architectural area or to the end tier by going outside to vendors and suppliers and contractors, that will be considered a hierarchical or vertical escalation. Now what we want to do from a design standpoint is you want to fully develop the personnel and the systems of the functional or horizontal escalation first to make sure that you have the personnel in place, the co-workers, the special skill sets, the access privileges, the individuals that have more time to allocate first before we fully develop that hierarchical escalation by creating second, third, or end tiers. So before you get into developing the second, third, and end tier solution, you want to make sure that the first tier and second tier solution, if they are functional and horizontal, is fully developed first. Finally, let's look at some of the benefits, the costs, and the challenges of incident management, starting of course with the positive aspect, and that is the benefits. What are the benefits of proper and effective incident handling and incident management? Well, you're going to get greater effectiveness for your business, your organization, reduced business impact from problems and incidents, including service requests. By creating a proper database and monitoring and reporting on the process, assessing it all along the way, it'll allow you to put into place proactive enhancements and changes that can make your organization run more smoothly. It also provides for more business-focused service-level agreement management. By improving the monitoring and performance of incidents, you'll get better service quality. It'll also allow you to better utilize your staff and create a more efficient personnel pool. By learning from incidents and problems, it'll allow you to eliminate future incidents and service requests. It'll help you build a more accurate database with a bottom line of improving customer and user satisfaction. Of course, all of this comes at a price, okay? There's going to be initial costs in time, in monies, in personnel resources for the initial planning and implementation of incident management in your service desk. You'll also need to have a communication infrastructure in your service desk for this particular IT service. There's going to be a training process of training from the top down. Also, a training and ramp up period you need to take into consideration. This could add some downtime to your organization. Again, you don't want to advertise this incident handling and incident management solution to your customer or to your users until it's been pilot tested and put into place. There's also additional hardware and software tools for incident management, and of course that's going to be an additional cost. What are some of the challenges to doing this? Well, the challenges are the fact that your users and your staff could actually bypass the procedures put in place for incident handling. If they deem the process too cumbersome or too bureaucratic, they may bypass it altogether, trying to resolve errors themselves or directly contacting specialist staff without following procedures. This is going to cause all kinds of problems in the long run. It's going to generate an inaccurate database. It's not going to support your change management and your control and problem management procedures. And the IT organization itself is not going to get information about the number of errors, the types of errors and incidents that are occurring, and management won't get the information they need. Also, one of the challenges is just too many incidents, okay? Too many problems in the organization. Poor infrastructure can lead to a backlog of incidents. If you have too few staff or a poorly designed infrastructure, this can lead to a backlog and, of course, a process overload on the service desk and the accompanying IT services, including this IT manager, whoever's in charge of incident response and incident management. Also, if your first tier is not properly trained or staffed, you may have too many escalations. escalations that aren't resolved quickly enough, or escalations that need more specialized resources. Too many of these are going to have an adverse impact on your organization, on the specialists themselves, and on the overall infrastructure. This goes back to that example I used earlier about State Farm having to pull specialists out of their service desk, their Tier 1 service desk, because they weren't fully and properly staffed to handle the infrastructure problem they had. So there was a 10-day downtime. That's huge, especially for a company-wide deployment or upgrade, which was the case for State Farm here. Then overall challenges are just lack of clear definitions, clearly defining the services, clearly defining the service level agreements with your customers, your users, your vendors, and just an overall lack of commitment on the part of management, all the way down to that service desk employee who's dealing with the day-to-day incidents and service requests. On this fifth nugget of the ITIL Foundation series, we covered 5 key topics. First of all, an overview of incident management. We looked at incident life cycle, the incident escalation process. We talked about functional versus hierarchical escalation, and then finally, the benefits, costs, and challenges of incident management. I hope this CBT nugget has been informative